Hey guys, tonight we are traveling back in time to attend the world's original Get Ready With Me video. We're exploring the ancient Egyptian beauty routine, a daily ritual that was part magic, part medicine, and all style. Forget your modern makeup, pilates, and 10-step skincare. We are about to dive into a world where your eyeliner could literally save your soul and maybe even cure an eye infection. It is a quiet, methodical story about grinding stones, precious powders, and the belief that looking good was a form of divine protection. Your 24-hour lipstick has nothing on the eternal glamour we are about to unpack. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It is a small click for you, but it makes a huge difference for the channel. And I always love to see our little community. So please drop your city and what time it is for you in the comments. It is a joy to see where you are all tuning in from. Dale, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first light of dawn is a soft, gray promise filtering through the high, narrow window of your sleeping chamber. There is no glass in this window, just an opening to catch the breeze. You stir from sleep, not on a soft mattress, but on a woven mat of reeds stretched over a simple wooden frame. Your pillow is not a fluffy cushion, but a cool, curved headrest made of wood or stone, designed to support your neck and preserve your elaborate hairstyle while you sleep. A classic piece of Egyptian ingenuity. You live in a house made of sun-dried mud bricks, the same dark, fertile earth that sustains all life along the Nile. The air is still cool, a temporary relief from the relentless heat that will soon bake the landscape. You can hear the gentle lapping of the great river not far from your home, the lifeblood of your entire world. Soon, the sounds of the village will begin, the lowing of cattle, the chatter of neighbors, the rhythmic thud of bread being prepared for the morning meal. But for now, in this quiet moment, you have a vital task to perform. It is the first and most important ritual of your day. You swing your legs off the bed, your bare feet meeting the cool, smooth earthen floor. You walk to a corner of the room where a small wooden chest sits. This is your treasure. It is not filled with gold or jewels, but with something you consider just as precious. You lift the lid. Inside, nestled in linen cloths, is your cosmetic set. This is not vanity. This is your armor. The Egyptians, both men and women, rich and poor, have been adorning their eyes for as long as anyone can remember. It is a fundamental part of your identity, as essential as the clothes you wear or the gods you worship. From the mightiest pharaoh to the humblest farmer, almost everyone participates in this daily ritual. Historians and Egyptologists of the future will debate the primary driver for this universal habit. Was it pure fashion, a desire to enhance the beauty of the eyes? Was it practical medicine against the harsh sun and dust? Or was it a deep-seated religious belief, a way to invoke divine power? The truth, you feel, is all three, woven together so tightly that they are impossible to separate. Your first thought in the morning, after offering a silent prayer of thanks for surviving the night, is of your eyes. The world outside is a place of bright, blinding light and swirling dust. The great sun god, Ra, is powerful and life-giving, but his glare is also punishing. Your makeup is a shield against it. It is also a shield against something more sinister. You believe that malevolent spirits and unseen diseases can enter the body through its openings, the mouth, the nose, and especially the eyes. To line your eyes with dark kohl is to create a magical barrier, a protective seal. This belief in the protective power of makeup is deeply ingrained in your culture. It is not something you question. It is just a fact of life, passed down through generations. A curious little fact of your time is that even the statues of the gods in the grandest temples are not considered complete until their eyes have been ceremonial painted with kohl. If the gods themselves need it, then who are you, a mere mortal, to go without? You reach into the chest, your fingers brushing against the cool stone of a small grinding pallet. Your day cannot truly begin until your eyes are prepared. It is a slow, meditative process. a moment of quiet focus before you face the world. This is your makeup tutorial, a tradition for 1,000 years in the old, and it is a matter of health, faith, and survival. You take the tools from your chest and lay them out on a clean, woven reed mat on the floor. This is your personal sanctuary of beautification, your ancient makeup station. The objects are simple, functional, yet imbued with a sense of purpose and artistry. They are some of your most personal and valuable possessions. First, and most important, is your palette. It is not a plastic tray with a dozen shades like something from the future. It is a small, fat slab of stone, usually silk-toned or slate, grayish-green in color. The surface is smooth and cool to the touch. This is your mixing board, the canvas upon which your cosmetic art will begin. Palettes are so essential to your culture that archaeologists will find them in the earliest graves, dating back to before the pharaohs. The most ancient ones are often simple rectangular shapes, but yours, being from a more refined era, might have a bit more flair. Many palettes from your time are carved into symbolic shapes. A very common design is a fish, a powerful symbol of fertility and rebirth in the Nile. The fish-shaped palette you might hold would have a small circular indentation in its center, a shallow depression worn smooth over years of use. This is where the magic happens. Other popular palette shapes include turtles, birds, or the ant, the symbol of life itself. The shape is not just decorative. It is meant to imbue the makeup you create upon it with the power of that symbol. Next to the palette, you place a small, heavy stone. It is a grinder or a pestle, smooth and rounded, designed to fit perfectly in the palm of your hand. Its job is to crush the raw minerals into a fine, silky powder. The rhythmic, back and forth motion of grinding is a sound that echoes through Egyptian households every morning. Then, you lay out your raw materials. You have two main color groups. For green eyeshadow, you have a small lump of malachite. It is a beautiful, opaque green stone, shot through with darker bands. It feels heavy and cool. For the all-important black eyeliner, you have a piece of galena. This is a lead sulfide mineral, dark green metallic, with a surprising heft and a silvery sparkle when it catches the light. These are not just any rocks. They are precious materials, sought from distant and dangerous places. Once the powder is ground, you will need to mix it. For this, you have a tiny pot containing a binder, usually a type of oil or animal fat. This turns the dry powder into a smooth, workable paste. The exact recipe for this binder is often a closely guarded secret, sometimes passed down through families. The quality of your binder determines how smoothly the kohl applies and how long it lasts throughout the day. Some Egyptologists will speculate that these fats might have contained medicinal herbs or other special ingredients, but for now, the debate continues on whether they were purely for consistency or for added therapeutic benefit. Finally, you have your applicators. These are delicate little sticks, often gold kohl sticks. They are typically made of wood, bone, or ivory. A simple one might be just a pointed stick, but a more luxurious one could be carved with the head of a goddess like Hathor, the patron of beauty and love. The applicator is double-ended. One end is a fine point for drawing the sharp, precise lines of the eyeliner, and the other might be a small, spoon-like spatula for scooping and applying the eyeshadow. And where do you store the finished product? In a kohl pot or kohl tube. This is a small, hollow vessel, often made of alabaster, stone, or even faience, a type of glazed ceramic. Many are simple cylinders, but some are exquisitely crafted. A very popular and charming design is a pot shaped like a tiny monkey, a creature associated with fun and liveliness. You would keep your precious kohl powder or paste inside, sealed with a small stopper, ready for daily use. This collection of objects, palette, grinder, minerals, applicator, and pot, forms a complete cosmetic kit. It is a set that will be found in the tombs of queens and pharaohs, but also in the simpler graves of ordinary people. The materials might differ. A queen might have a palette of pure alabaster and an applicator of gold, while you might have simple stone and wood. But the fundamental tools and the ritual they serve are the same. This is a universal part of your culture. With your kit laid out before you, you are ready to begin the slow, careful process of creating beauty and protection for the day ahead. Today, you decide to begin with green. The color green, or what EJ in your language, is more than just a pretty shade. It is one of the most powerful symbolic colors in your entire cosmology. It is the color of the Nile's life-giving papyrus reeds, the color of new growth after the annual flood, and the color of fresh vegetables. It represents fertility, new life, and resurrection. To wear green is to align yourself with the forces of renewal and vitality. It is no wonder that the ancient Egyptians believed the afterlife was an eternal field of reeds, a paradise of endless green. But to get this potent color, you cannot just go to the local market. The source of your green eyeshadow, malachite, is a copper ore that must be mined and brought to you through long and arduous trade routes. The primary source for malachite in your time lies far to the east, across the blistering desert, in the mountainous region of the Sinai Peninsula. Let's imagine the journey of this small green stone. You are not a wealthy noble. You are a person of some standing, perhaps the wife of a scribe or a skilled craftsman. The malachite you hold was acquired through trade, its value heightened by the story of its origin. It began its journey in the mines of Sinai, a place the Egyptians called pharaoh, the mining country. These mines are not the deep, complex shafts of later eras. They are a network of shallow pits and galleries, dug into the sandstone cliffs by hand. The work is brutal and dangerous. The miners are often prisoners of war, criminals, or conscripts sent on state-sponsored expeditions. They toil under the scorching desert sun, chipping away at the rock with primitive tools of stone and bronze. The heat is unimaginable, water is strictly rationed, and the threat of cave-ins is constant. These expeditions are not undertaken lightly. A large mining operation is a major military and logistical undertaking, ordered by the pharaoh himself. A caravan of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of men, miners, soldiers, scribes, and priests would set out from Egypt. They would travel for weeks across the unforgiving desert, their path marked by the graves of those who did not make it. Once they reached the mining sites, like the famous locations of Es, Abd al-Qadim or Wadi Magarach, they would set up a temporary camp. Life there was hard, but it was also deeply infused with religion. The miners would build small temples and shrines to the gods they hoped would protect them. The primary deity of the Sinai mines was Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, and foreign lands. She was given the title Mistress of Malachite. The miners would leave inscriptions on carvings on the rock faces, asking for her protection and praying for a successful expedition. They were not just digging for rocks. They were seeking the blessings of a goddess. A curious little fact that modern archaeologists discovered is that the earliest known form of the alphabet may have been invented by these very miners. They found inscriptions in a strange new script, now called Proto-Sinaitic, which seems to be an attempt by Semitic-speaking workers to adapt Egyptian hieroglyphs to write their own language. It is a testament to the cross-cultural interactions happening in these remote industrial zones. After months of hard labor, the miners would have amassed a payload of precious minerals, turquoise, for which Sinai was even more famous, and our green malachite. The expedition would then make the perilous journey back to the Nile Valley. The raw malachite would be processed, sorted, and traded, eventually trickling down through the complex Egyptian economy until a small, potent lump finds its way into your possession. So as you take your piece of malachite and place it on your silk-toned palette, you are holding more than just a rock. You are holding the story of a great journey. You feel the heat of the Sinai desert. You hear the distant chip, chip, chip of the miners' stools, and you sense the divine power of Hathor, the mistress of malachite. This stone is a link to a vast network of labor, trade, and faith. Grinding it into a fine powder is not just preparing makeup. It is an act of connecting with the far-flung corners of your world and the powerful forces that shape it. The application of this green dust is the final step in a 1,000-mile journey, from a dangerous mine to the delicate skin around your eyes. After preparing your green eyeshadow, you turn to the most crucial part of your routine, the black kohl. This is the iconic, dark line that will define and protect your eyes. The color black, or chem in your language, holds a dual meaning. It is the color of the night in the underworld, a symbol of death and mystery. But it is also the color of the rich, fertile silt left behind by the Nile's annual flood, the very soil that gives Egypt life. This black earth is the source of your country's name, Kemet, the Black Land. So black represents both death and rebirth, protection and fertility. The source of this powerful black pigment is a mineral called galena. Galena is a lead sulfide, a dense, heavy ore with a dark gray color and a brilliant, silvery metallic luster. Like malachite, it is a precious substance that must be mined and imported from distant lands. While some small deposits existed in the eastern desert, the finest and most sought-after galena came from the south, from the region near Aswan, the traditional southern border of Egypt proper, and further south into Nubia. Let's trace the journey of this dark, sparkling mineral. You are holding a small, heavy piece of galena. Its journey began hundreds of miles up the Nile, near the first cataract at Aswan. This is a dramatic landscape where the smooth flow of the river is interrupted by massive granite boulders and treacherous rapids. It is a place of immense strategic and economic importance, the gateway to Africa. The mines here, like those in the Sinai, were often worked by state-sponsored expeditions. The process was grueling. Miners would venture into the hot, dry hills of the desert that fringed the Nile Valley, searching for veins of the precious ore. The work was physically demanding and came with its own set of dangers, not least of which were the scorpions and snakes of the desert. The raw galena, once extracted, would be loaded onto barges for its long journey downriver. Imagine a fleet of wooden ships, their sails full with the north-blowing wind, gliding down the Nile. They are laden with the treasures of the south, granite for statues and obelisks, gold from the mines of Nubia, exotic woods, ostrich feathers, and, in heavy sacks, are precious galena. The river is the highway of your civilization, and this traffic is its lifeblood. The galena would arrive at major trading posts and workshops along the river, where it would be processed and distributed. A significant portion of this trade was controlled by the temples. The great temple complexes were not just religious centers. They were vast economic engines with their own farms, workshops, and trade networks. They would have procured large quantities of galena, both for the daily ritual of anointing the statues of the gods and for producing cosmetics for the temple staff and for trade. One of the main processing sites for galena was the Red Sea port of Mar-es-Gal-Waziz. Here, archaeologists found not only the remains of ancient seagoing ships, but also evidence of large-scale mineral processing, including galena. This suggests that some galena may have also been imported from even more distant lands via sea trade, a fact that historians are still piecing together. By the time a small piece of this mineral reaches your hands, it has passed through many others, the hands of the miner who dug it from the earth, the sailor who guided the barge down the Nile, the merchant who traded it in the bustling marketplace, and perhaps even the priest who blessed it in a temple workshop. A quirky detail that modern science has revealed is that different sources of galena have different chemical fingerprints, based on the trace elements they contain. By analyzing the galena found in ancient coal pots, scientists can now trace the mineral back to its specific mining region. This has helped to map the vast and complex trade networks of your time with incredible precision. They can tell, for instance, if the coal in a queenston came from Aswan or from a mine in the eastern desert. As you place the heavy, glittering piece of galena on your palate, you feel its density, its connection to the deep earth. This is not just a cosmetic. It is a piece of the sacred black land, a product of the mighty river that unites your world. To grind it into a fine powder is to prepare not just your face, but your very being, for the day ahead, armed with the dual power of Kemet, the promise of life emerging from the dark, fertile soil. Now, with your precious minerals before you, the true ritual begins. This is the part of your morning that is slow, deliberate, and meditative. It is a small, personal ceremony that connects you to generations of ancestors who performed this very same act. You pick up your smooth, heavy grinding stone, the pestle, and place the small lump of malachite into the circular depression on your fish-shaped palette. You begin to grind. The motion is rhythmic and practiced. A slow, steady pressure, a circular or back-and-forth movement. The stone-on-stone sound is soft and abrasive, a gritty whisper in the quiet of the morning. It is a sound as familiar and comforting to you as the call to prayer would be in a later hour. As you work, tiny particles of the green mineral break away, forming a fine powder. The color brightens as the powder gets finer, becoming a vibrant, pale green dust. This process is not rushed. It requires patience to get the powder fine enough for a smooth, non-irritating application. You must grind for several minutes. This is a moment of focus. Your mind is quiet, your attention centered on the simple, repetitive task. It is a form of mindfulness, a way of grounding yourself before the day's activities begin. The palette itself is a key piece of technology. The choice of stone, silktone or slate, is deliberate. It is hard enough not to be worn away quickly by the grinding, but soft enough not to pulverize the grinding stone itself. The shallow, bowl-like depression helps to keep the precious powder from spilling. Some of the most beautiful palettes that have survived from your time show clear signs of this daily use. The central depression is often stained with the faint green of malachite or the dark gray of galena, a ghostly trace of thousands of mornings just like this one. You can imagine this same scene playing out in households up and down the Nile. In the opulent chambers of the pharaoh's palace, a servant might be performing this task for the queen, using a palette inlaid with gold and ivory. In a humble farmer's hut, a woman might be using a simple, unadorned stone that has been in her family for generations. The materials differ, but the action is the same. It is a unifying, daily ritual that cuts across all social classes. Once you are satisfied with the fineness of the malachite powder, you carefully tip it into a small container, perhaps a seashell or a simple ceramic dish. You wipe the palette clean with a piece of linen, and now you begin again. This time with the galena. Grinding the galena is a slightly different experience. It is a softer, heavier mineral. As you grind, it breaks down into a dark, dense powder with a subtle, silvery sheen. The resulting powder is incredibly black, a deep and satisfying pigment. This is the kohl, the foundation of the iconic Egyptian look. There is a historical debate that you are living through, though you may not know it. Some people in your culture prefer to use a different source for their black pigment. So, they might carefully collect the fine black powder from the burning of oil lamps or certain types of wood. This creates a very deep, matte black pigment. However, the most prized and, you believe, the most powerful kohl comes from galena. You believe the mineral itself, born from the earth, carries a protective power that simple soot lacks. Egyptologists of the future will argue about which source was more common, with evidence pointing to both being used, sometimes even mixed together. You now have two small piles of precious, silky powder, one of brilliant green, the other of deep, shimmering black. They are the result of your patient labor, transformed from raw, jagged minerals into the very essence of color. The air around you is tinged with a faint, dusty, mineral scent. This is the smell of preparation, the aroma of beauty and protection. The sun is higher in the sky now, and the sounds of the world are growing louder. Your quiet moment of meditative grinding is over. The next step is to turn this potent dust into a usable cosmetic. With your two piles of finely ground mineral dust ready, the next stage of your makeup tutorial begins. You are now a chemist, an alchemist, transforming dry powder into a luxurious, smooth paste. This is where skill and a little bit of secret knowledge come into play. A poorly mixed kohl can be clumpy, greasy, or irritating to the eyes. A perfectly mixed one will glide on smoothly and last all day. Even in the dry heat, you take your small pot of binder. What's inside is a carefully guarded recipe. The base is almost always a form of fat or oil. For a common household, this might be goose fat, a readily available undefective binder. Or it could be a vegetable oil, like castor oil or moringa oil. both of which were cultivated in Egypt and prized for their cosmetic and medicinal properties. If you were wealthier, your binder might be more exotic, perhaps made with clarified butter or even beeswax, which would give the final product a firmer consistency. But it is not just about the base fat. You, or the person who prepared this for you, might have added other ingredients to the mix. This is where the line between cosmetic and medicine becomes truly blurred. Some recipes called for a small amount of honey to be added. Honey is a natural preservative and has well-known antibacterial properties, something your culture has understood for centuries. It would help keep the kohl paste fresh and might offer additional protection against eye ailments. Other potential additives are more mysterious. Some texts hint at the inclusion of finely ground herbs or even incense resins like frankincense or myrrh. These would not only add a subtle, pleasant fragrance to your makeup but were also believed to have powerful purifying and protective qualities. Frankincense, in particular, was strongly associated with divinity and was burned as a sacred offering in every temple. To mix it into your kohl would be to anoint yourself with the scent of the gods. The exact recipes for these binders are a subject of ongoing fascination and debate for future scientists. They will analyze the residues in ancient kohl pots, using gas chromatography and mass spectrometry to identify the specific fats and oils used. Their findings will confirm the use of a wide variety of lipids, pointing to a sophisticated and adaptable cosmetic technology. What they will struggle to identify, however, are the trace amounts of herbs or other secret ingredients that might have been part of a family's unique formula. Now, you take a tiny amount of your binder, perhaps on the spatula end of your kohl applicator, and add it to the pile of galena powder on your palette. You begin to mix, working the fat into the powder with careful, deliberate strokes. You are aiming for a specific consistency, not too dry, not too oily. It should be a smooth, dense paste, about the texture of a modern jelly eyeliner. This takes practice. Too much powder and it will be crumbly. Too much oil and it will smudge and run. You perform the same process with the green malachite powder, creating a separate, vibrant green paste. You now have to develop a fresh, custom mixed makeup on your palette. Once you are satisfied with the consistency, you carefully scrape the precious paste into its designated container. The green paste might go into a small, lidded ceramic pot. The black kohl, your daily staple, is transferred into its special kohl tube. You might use the spatula end of your applicator to carefully push the paste down into the narrow vessel, tamping it down to remove any air pockets. You then seal the tube with its stopper, which is often attached to the applicator stick itself. Your custom blended, divinely infused makeup is now ready. The process has taken time and care. It is a far cry from twisting the cap off a factory-made product. This ritual of mixing has reinforced your personal connection to the materials. You have transformed them with your own hands. As you prepare to apply it, you are not just applying a cosmetic. You are applying a personal creation, a protective balm that you have charged with your intention and skill. The magic is not just in the final product. It is in the very act of making it. With your pigments mixed and ready, you begin the application. You start with the green eyeshadow, the Wad EJ. This is not about contouring or creating a smoky eye in the modern sense. This is a bold, symbolic application of color. You use the spatula end of your applicator or even just your fingertip to scoop up a small amount of the vibrant green paste. You apply it broadly across your entire eyelid, from the lash line all the way up to the eyebrow. The goal is a solid, uniform block of color. The malachite paste feels cool and smooth against your skin, a pleasant sensation in the growing morning heat. The color is a stark, dramatic statement against your skin tone. It is a look that is instantly recognizable as Egyptian. As you smooth the green paste over your eyelids, you are thinking about its symbolic power. You are invoking Odj, the concept of greenness, of flourishing life. This is especially important if you are a woman, as green is closely associated with Hathor, the goddess of beauty, love, and fertility. By painting your eyes green, you are, in a sense, offering a prayer to her, asking for her blessings of vitality and joy. For men, the green also carries meaning. It connects to the god Osiris, the lord of the underworld and resurrection. Osiris is often depicted with green skin, symbolizing his victory over death and his power to bring new life to the land of Egypt through the Nile's flood. When a man applies this green color, he is connecting himself to this powerful cycle of death and rebirth, ensuring his own continued vitality in this life and the next. This is not just a quiet, personal ritual. It is also a public declaration. The quality and vibrancy of your green eyeshadow would signal your social standing. A bright, pure green made from high-quality Sinai malachite would be a clear sign of wealth and status. A poor person might have to make do with a duller green, perhaps from a lower-quality mineral source or mixed with other, cheaper pigments. Your makeup is a part of your nonverbal communication with the world. Archaeologists of the future will find countless examples of this green eyeshadow still clinging to the mummified remains of your contemporaries. They will analyze its chemical composition and find that it is almost always pure, ground malachite. They will also find statues and painted reliefs where the subjects had this same bold, green application, often extending in a thick band towards the temples, a curious detail that these depictions reveal as the ideal shape. The green eyeshadow was often applied in a shape that mimicked the almond outline of the eye itself, creating a stylized, larger-than-life version of your most expressive feature. It was a way of emphasizing the eye as the window to the soul, making it a focal point of power and beauty. There is an ongoing debate among scholars about whether the green was worn as a base layer for the black kohl, or if it was sometimes worn on its own. The evidence from art and mummies is ambiguous. Some depictions show only green, some show only black, and some seem to show both. It is likely that, just like in modern makeup, there were different styles and trends. Perhaps on a normal day, you might wear only kohl, but for a festival or a special occasion, you would go for the full, dramatic effect of the green base followed by the black liner. Today, you have chosen the full look. Your eyelids are now a canvas of vibrant, life-giving green. You feel the protective power of the color sinking into your skin. You have prepared the ground for the final, most important step. You have laid down the fertile field of Osiris and Hathor, and now it is time to draw the sacred, protective line of the god Horus. Now for the master stroke. You pick up your kohl stick, the one connected to the stopper of your freshly filled kohl tube. You dip the fine, pointed end into the dense, black paste, coating it evenly. This requires a steady hand and a focused mind. The line you are about to draw is not just a cosmetic enhancement. It is a sacred symbol, a powerful act of magic. You bring the applicator to the corner of your eye. You are not just lining the lash line. The Egyptian style is far more dramatic, more stylized than that. You begin by drawing a thick, dark line that extends from the inner corner of your eye all the way along the upper and lower lash lines. You are essentially encircling the entire eye in a protective ring of black. The goal is to create a bold, almond shape, halognating the eye and making it appear larger and more defined. But the line does not stop at the outer corner. This is where the iconic Egyptian flair comes in. You extend the line outwards, in a single, confident stroke, towards your temple. This is the famous cat eye or winged liner, a style so timeless that it will be reinvented thousands of years in the future. The length and thickness of this extended line can vary. It is a matter of personal style, fashion, and the specific era you live in. In some periods, the line is a simple, elegant tail. In others, especially during the New Kingdom, it can become a very long, dramatic, and geometric line, sometimes accompanied by a second, parallel line or other decorative flourishes. You complete one eye, then turn to the other, carefully mirroring the shape and length of the line. The process requires concentration. A shaky hand can ruin the perfect, sharp line, and you would have to wipe it clean with a piece of linen dipped in oil and start again. This is a skill that you have practiced since you were a child. As you draw the lines, the galena-based paste feels cool and slightly heavy on your skin. It has a distinct mineral scent, earthy and clean. You can feel it creating a dark, protective shadow around your eyes, a welcome sensation that seems to instantly cut the growing glare of the morning sun. This look is not considered exclusively feminine. Far from it. Men in your culture wear kohl with the same dedication as women. You see it everywhere. On everyone. The mighty pharaoh, his eyes heavily lined with black, stares out from temple walls. A powerful priest, a muscular soldier, a meticulous scribe. All of them would begin their day with this same ritual. For men, the kohl line is a sign of virility, power, and authority. It emphasizes the intensity of their gaze, a crucial trait in a society that values strength and command. Even children have their eyes lined with kohl. It is believed to be especially important for them, as they are considered more vulnerable to malevolent spirits and diseases. A mother would gently apply the protective black line to her infant's eyes, a daily act of love and magical care. A fascinating detail that Egyptologists will uncover is the evolution of the kohl applicator itself. In the earliest periods, it was a simple, thick stick, but over time, it became more refined. They will find kohl sticks that are incredibly thin and delicate, suggesting a desire for ever more precise and elegant lines. This points to a sophisticated and evolving fashion culture, with changing ideals of beauty. Much like any other society in history, the perfect eyeliner of your grandmother's generation might look slightly different from the fashionable line of your own time. Now, your work is done. You look at your reflection, perhaps in a small, highly polished bronze or silver disc that serves as a mirror. The face that looks back at you is transformed. Your eyes are now the focal point. Large, mysterious, and powerfully defined. They are framed by the life-giving green of the fields and encircled by the protective black of the sacred earth. You do not just look beautiful. You feel armed. You feel ready. You are wearing the gaze of a god. You step out of the cool, dim interior of your house into the full force of the Egyptian morning. The sun, now climbing high in the sky, is a brilliant, almost violent, white disk. It reflects off the pale sand of the desert and the shimmering surface of the Nile, creating a glare that is physically painful to the naked eye. But your eyes feel comfortable, shielded. This is the first, most immediate, and most practical magic of your kohl eyeliner. You are wearing ancient sunglasses. The dark, thick line of eyeliner encircling your eyes works on a very simple principle. It absorbs and deflects the harsh rays of the sun. Think of the black grease paint modern athletes, like baseball or American football players, smear under their eyes to reduce glare from stadium lights or the sun. You and your people discovered this same trick 1,000 years earlier. In a land where the sun is a powerful, ever-present deity under constant environmental challenge, this is not a minor benefit. It is a crucial adaptation for daily life. For the farmer toiling in the fields, the fisherman casting his nets on the river, or the builder hauling stones for a new temple. The ability to see clearly without squinting in the blinding light is essential. It reduces eye strain, prevents headaches, and allows for greater focus and efficiency in their work. This practical benefit is so obvious and immediate that some historians and scientists argue it was the primary reason for the invention and widespread adoption of kohl. The religious and cosmetic aspects, they suggest, might have developed later, as a way to explain and sanctify this incredibly useful piece of folk technology. It is a classic chicken and egg debate in history. Did the magic lead to the practice, or did the practice lead to the magic? For you, living in this world, the question is meaningless. The practical and the magical are one and the same. The kohl works because the gods wish it to work. Let's think about the environment you live in. The Nile Valley is a thin ribbon of life carved through one of the world's most arid deserts. The air is frequently filled with fine, wind-blown sand and dust. These tiny particles are a constant source of irritation for the eyes, leading to redness, watering, and infection. Your heavy application of kohl, mixed with a base of oil or fat, creates a physical barrier. The greasy paste helps to catch dust and particles before they can enter the eye. Much like how eyelashes work, you can simply wipe away the dirty kohl at the end of the day, cleaning your eyes in the process. This makes the kohl a form of preventative medicine. In a world with no antibiotics, preventing an infection is far, far better than trying to cure one. An eye infection could easily lead to partial or total blindness, a devastating disability in any age. So your daily makeup routine is also a daily hygiene routine. A curious little detail that supports this practical view is the Egyptian word for makeup artist, which can be translated as kohl beautifier or kohl healer, suggesting the two roles were intertwined. Furthermore, ancient medical texts, like the famous Ebers Papyrus, contain recipes for eye treatments that are almost identical to the recipes for making kohl. The same ingredients, galena, malachite, honey, and various herbs, are prescribed for ailments like inflammation of the eyes or watering of the eyes. It is clear that the Egyptians did not see a firm line between a cosmetic product and a medical preparation. Your makeup bag is also your medicine cabinet. So as you go about your day, your eyes are not just beautifully adorned and magically protected. They are also practically equipped to handle the unique environmental stresses of your homeland. The kohl is a perfect example of the brilliant, pragmatic ingenuity of your people. It is a multi-purpose tool, a single solution to a host of different problems. It is fashion, it is faith, and it is a fantastically effective pair of sunglasses for your soul and for your body. The intense, stylish gaze of the ancient Egyptians was not just about looking cool. It was about staying cool, calm, and collected under the watchful eye of the sun god, Ra. The sun and the dust are not the only environmental challenges you face in the Nile Valley. The river, the source of all life, also brings with it another constant, irritating companion. Flies, swarms of them. They are everywhere, especially during the hot, humid months after the annual inundation. They buzz around your food, your livestock, and, most annoyingly, they try to land on the moist corners of your eyes. This is not just a nuisance. It is a serious health hazard. These flies are carriers of disease. They breed in filth and then travel from person to person, or from animal to person, transmitting harmful bacteria. One of the most common and devastating diseases they carry is trachoma, a bacterial infection that causes painful inflammation of the eyelid and can lead to scarring, inward growing eyelashes, and eventual blindness. It was a rampant public health problem in the ancient world, and your people were desperate for any way to combat it. And here, your kohl eyeliner performs another piece of practical magic. It acts as an ancient, surprisingly effective fly repellent. The logic is straightforward. Flies are attracted to moisture. The dark, greasy, and perhaps slightly fragrant paste you have applied around your eyes creates a surface that is unattractive and inhospitable to them. A fly attempting to land near your eye will find itself in a sticky, mineral-laden zone that it would rather avoid. You have essentially created a divine, no-fly zone around your most vulnerable sensory organs. This belief in kohl's fly-repelling properties is deeply embedded in your culture. A mother applying kohl to her baby's eyes is not just making her child look beautiful or protecting them from the evil eye. She is actively trying to keep the flies away, protecting her child from the diseases they carry. This is another area where modern science has stepped in to test the ancient wisdom. While it is hard to replicate the exact conditions of the Nile Valley, studies have been done on the fly-repellent properties of various traditional substances. The findings are fascinating. While the kohl itself might not be a powerful chemical insecticide in the modern sense, the physical, greasy barrier it creates does indeed deter flies from landing. Furthermore, some of the potential additives, like neem oil, though its use in Egypt is debated, or certain aromatic resins, are known to have natural insect repellent qualities. A curious parallel can be found in other cultures living in similar environments. In parts of Africa and South Asia, pastoralist groups like the Maasai have traditionally used mixtures of red ochre and fat on their skin and hair. While this has deep cultural and symbolic meaning, it also serves the very practical purpose of protecting them from the sun and deterring insects. It seems that a makeup as pest control strategy is a piece of folk wisdom that has been discovered independently by different peoples around the world. The debate among Egyptologists here is, again, one of primary motivation. Did the Egyptians start wearing kohl specifically to keep flies away? Or was this a happy side effect of a practice that began for other reasons? Some scholars argue that the fly repellent aspect was a key driver, especially given the prevalence of eye diseases. They point to ancient texts that describe flies as messengers of sickness and demons. Anything that could ward them off would have been seen as powerful medicine. One fascinating little tidbit from the medical papyrus is a recipe for a fly-chasing potion to be applied around the house, which includes ingredients sometimes found in cosmetics. It shows a clear and conscious effort to combat these pests through any means necessary. So, as you walk through the bustling village, you are not constantly swatting at flies buzzing around your face. Your kohl eyeliner, your magical shield, is doing its quiet, protective work. It is another layer of the brilliant, multifaceted utility of your daily makeup routine. It is a beauty product that does not just attract admiring glances. It repels one of the most persistent and dangerous pests in your world. Your iconic look is not just about high fashion. It is about high-level, personal pest management. In the eternal battle between man and fly, you have a secret weapon, and you wear it with style. Your eyes are lined, shielded, and stylish. You feel a sense of well-being, a quiet confidence that you are protected from the harshness of the world. You believe this protection comes from the gods, from the inherent magic of the minerals, and from the ancient wisdom of your ancestors. You trust your kohl. It works. You have seen it work. Fewer people in your family get the dreaded eye sicknesses when they use it diligently. You do not know the science, but you know the results. Now, let's step forward in time, thousands of years into the future. For a very long time, historians and scientists will look at your daily habit with a sense of horrified fascination. They were putting lead on their eyes. They will say, shaking their heads, every single day, men, women, and even babies. It is a miracle they were not all chronically ill. Lead, as future generations will know all too well, is a potent neurotoxin. It can accumulate in the body over time, causing a host of debilitating health problems. From this future perspective, your cherished cosmetic routine looks like a slow, daily act of self-poisoning. For decades, the prevailing theory will be that you and your people were simply unaware of the danger. You were trading the long-term risk of lead poisoning for the short-term benefits of sun protection and fly repelling. A devil's bargain made out of ignorance. But then, in the early 21st century, a team of French scientists decided to ask a different question. Instead of asking, how did they survive it? They asked, what if the lead was a key part of why it worked as medicine? It was a radical, counterintuitive idea. Could a known poison actually be a secret ingredient for good health? They embarked on a remarkable piece of scientific detective work. They chemically recreated ancient Egyptian kohl paste based on analyses of samples found in museum collections. Then, using incredibly sensitive, custom-built microelectrodes, they studied the effect of this lead-based mixture on a single human skin cell in a lab. What they discovered was astonishing, and it completely changed our understanding of your ancient magic. They found that when the skin cell was exposed to very low, sublethal doses of lead ions from the kohl, it did not just get sick or die. Instead, the lead acted as a chemical stressor. It was just enough of a threat to kick the cell's own defense mechanisms into overdrive. In response to this mild stress, the cell began to produce a massive amount of a specific molecule, nitric oxide. Today, we know that nitric oxide is a critical part of the human immune system. It is a signaling molecule, a chemical messenger that acts as a first responder. When your body detects an invading bacterium, your immune cells release a burst of nitric oxide. This tells the rest of your immune system to wake up, get to the site of the infection, and start fighting. It is the body's own internal alarm bell. The French scientists realized the incredible implication. Your daily application of lead-based kohl was essentially a form of immunotherapy. You were giving the cells around your eyes a tiny, controlled dose of stress, which in turn kept them producing a steady, elevated level of nitric oxide. This meant your eyes were in a constant state of heightened immune readiness. The guards were always at the gate, ready to annihilate any bacteria carried by a fly or a speck of dust before it could ever establish a full-blown infection. This is the science behind your magic. You believe the kohl invoked the power of Horus to smite your enemies. In a way, you were right. It was summoning your body's own divine power, the immune system, to smite the microscopic enemies you could not even see. This discovery remains a topic of lively academic debate. The scientists who found this effect are quick to point out that this does not mean lead-based eyeliner is safe. The long-term toxic effects are very real, but it suggests that in your world, a world without antibiotics, where a simple eye infection could mean blindness or even death, the trade-off was logical. The immediate, life-altering benefit of a supercharged immune system around the eyes far outweighed the slow, cumulative, and poorly understood risks of lead toxicity. It is a perfect example of what toxicologists call H-worms is, the principle that a substance that is toxic at a high dose can be beneficial at a very low dose. It is a quaint cure in the truest sense of the word. A dose of lead a day does not keep the doctor away, but it might just have kept the deadly eye infections at bay. A secret piece of chemical wizardry that was lost to the world for millennia, hidden in plain sight on the faces of an entire civilization. You have applied your makeup. You feel the practical benefits, the reduced glare, the absence of flies, the soothing coolness on your skin. You trust in the medicinal power you believe it holds. But now, as you prepare to face the world, the final and most important transformation occurs. Your makeup ceases to be just a cosmetic or a medicine. It becomes an amulet. The two almond shapes you have drawn on your face fuse into a single, potent symbol, the Eye of Horus. The story of the Eye of Horus is one of the most fundamental and powerful myths in your entire religion. It is a story you have known since you were a child, a tale of struggle, sacrifice, and healing. It begins with the righteous god Osiris, who was murdered and dismembered by his jealous brother, Set, the god of chaos and the desert. Osiris' faithful wife, Isis, gathered his pieces and, through her powerful magic, conceived a son, Horus. Horus was born to be the rightful heir to the throne of Egypt, and his destiny was to avenge his father. When Horus grew to manhood, he challenged Set for the kingship. They engaged in a series of epic, violent battles. In one of these titanic struggles, Set attacked Horus and tore out his left eye. He ripped the eye to pieces, scattering the fragments. The left eye of Horus was not just a normal eye. It was associated with the moon, a symbol of magic, healing, and cyclical renewal. Its destruction was a cosmic catastrophe. But Thoth, the god of wisdom, magic, and writing, came to the rescue. Patiently, he searched for the scattered fragments of the eye and, using his divine wisdom, he magically reassembled it, making it whole and more powerful than before. He restored the eye to Horus, who then used its healing power to resurrect his father, Osiris. After this, Horus finally defeated Set and claimed his rightful place as the king of Egypt. This restored eye, the weedy jade eye, became the ultimate symbol of healing, restoration, protection, and wholeness. You see it everywhere. It is carved on temple walls, painted on coffins, and worn as one of the most common amulets, crafted from faience or precious stone and hung around the neck. But you do not just wear it as a piece of jewelry. By lining your eyes in that specific, stylized, almond shape with the extended tail, you are drawing the weedy jade eye directly onto your own body. You are not just invoking its power. You are, in a sense, becoming it. Your own eyes are transformed into the magical, all-seeing, all-powerful eyes of the falcon-headed god himself. Each part of the stylized eye you have drawn has a deeper, hidden meaning. The ancient Egyptians, with their love of mathematics and symbolism, broke down the weedy jade eye into 6 distinct parts. Each part was associated with one of the 6 senses, including thought as a sense, and, fashionably, with a specific fraction. The eyebrow was 1 divided by 8. The pupil was 1 divided by 4. The darker part of the sclera was 1 divided by 2. The lighter part was 1 divided by 16. The teardrop-like marking was 1 divided by 64, and the curling tail was 1 divided by 32. If you add up these fractions, 1 divided by 2 plus 1 divided by 4 plus 1 divided by 8 plus 1 divided by 16 plus 1 divided by 32 plus 1 divided by 64, you get 63 divided by 64. You do not get a perfect whole number. This missing 1 divided by 64th part is a subject of endless debate among Egyptologists. Some believe it represents the limits of human knowledge, the part that only the gods can understand. Others think it symbolizes the magical power of thoth, the missing piece that he supplied to make the eye whole again. Whatever the reason, it shows the incredible depth of symbolic thinking at play. So, when you look in your polished bronze mirror, you see more than just a person with eyeliner. You see the gaze of Horus looking back. You are protected from the evil eye, a malevolent force believed to cause sickness and misfortune. Because your own eye is now the ultimate divine shield. You are fortified against disease, because your eye is the very symbol of healing and restoration. You are walking through the world with the confidence of a god, your vision made whole and powerful by this daily act of sacred art. It is the final, most profound layer of your makeup's magic. It turns your face into a living prayer, a walking, breathing amulet of divine power. One of the most striking things about your makeup routine, something that would seem very unusual to people from many other cultures and time periods, is its universality. As you walk out into your village, you see the iconic dark-lined eyes everywhere, and on everyone. This is not a practice reserved for a specific gender, age group, or social class. Beauty, and the divine protection that comes with it, is for everybody. You see a group of farmers heading to the fields, their muscular arms and legs darkened by the sun. Their faces are weathered, but their eyes are just as carefully and dramatically lined as your own. For them, the kohl is a mark of their identity as hard-working Egyptians, a shield against the sun and dust of their labor, and a silent prayer for a bountiful harvest. A soldier from the local garrison marches past, a bronze-tipped spear in his hand. His gaze is fierce and direct, an intensity that is amplified by the thick black line around his eyes. For him, the makeup is part of his uniform, a symbol of his power and his divine mandate to protect the borders of Egypt. It connects him to the pharaoh, the living Horus, whose own eyes are the ultimate symbol of royal authority. You see a priest, his head shaven and his body wrapped in clean white linen, emerging from the local temple. His eyes are meticulously lined, perhaps with a kohl prepared in the temple's own sacred workshops. For him, the makeup is an act of purification, a way of preparing himself to enter the presence of the gods. He is making his own face resemble the faces of the divine statues within the temple, blurring the line between the human and the divine. Then you see your neighbor, a woman like yourself, busy with her household chores. Her eyes are lined with a confidence that speaks of her role as the mistress of her home, a creator of life and order, and playing at her feet are her children, a small boy and a girl, both with their eyes lightly but clearly outlined in black. Their small, almond-shaped eyes are replicas of their parents, a sign that they are cherished, protected, and fully a part of this shared cultural identity. This widespread use of makeup by men is something that would fascinate and sometimes confuse foreign visitors to Egypt. Like the Greek historian Herodotus, he would write about the Egyptians' peculiar customs, noting how their gender roles and practices often seem to be the reverse of those in Greece. This shared cosmetic tradition is a key part of that observation. In your world, there is no concept that vanity or personal adornment is an exclusively feminine trait. A man's beauty, his physical well-being, and his spiritual state are just as important as a woman's. Of course, while the practice is universal, the quality and style can vary. A very wealthy noble might have a more elaborate look, perhaps with powdered gold dust mixed into their eyeshadow, a practice some historians speculate might have existed. Their kohl might be made from the absolute finest, triple-sifted galena, creating a jet black, velvety line that a common person could only dream of. A curious little detail is that your society does not seem to have a strong prescription against cosmetics for the devoutly religious. which is common in many other faiths. In fact, it is the opposite. The more connected to the gods you are, the more important the makeup becomes. The gods themselves are the ultimate trendsetters. This is in stark contrast to later Abrahamic traditions, where heavy makeup was often viewed with suspicion as a sign of vanity or deception. In Egypt, your makeup is a sign of piety. This shared visual language is a powerful social glue. It reinforces a collective identity. When you see another person with their eyes lined in the familiar way, you recognize them as one of your own, a fellow inhabitant of Kemet. It is a silent, constant affirmation of your shared culture, your shared beliefs, and your shared struggle for life, beauty, and order in the face of the surrounding chaos. It is a beauty routine that does not create divisions. It erases them, uniting everyone from the pharaoh on his golden throne to the baby in a reed basket under a single, divine, watchful gaze. While the ritual of lining your eyes is a great unifier, a practice shared by all, it is also a subtle and effective way to display your wealth and social standing. The gods may love all their children, but in Egyptian society, some are clearly more equal than others. Your cosmetic kit, the quality of your makeup, and the skill of its application are all silent, powerful indicators of where you sit in the rigid social hierarchy. Let's go back to your makeup kit. You have a nice, functional set, a silk tone palette, a simple wooden applicator, and a sturdy ceramic kohl pot. It is a respectable kit, perhaps for the family of a scribe or a master craftsman. Now, imagine you are visiting the home of a high-ranking official, a vizier or a provincial governor. His wife's cosmetic set would be a world away from yours. Her palette might be carved from translucent, creamy alabaster or imported lapis lazuli, its surface shimmering with veins of gold. Her grinding pestle could be made of polished obsidian. Her applicators might be crafted from silver or ivory, their tops decorated with intricate carvings of goddesses or lotus flowers. And her kohl pot. This is where true luxury is displayed. Instead of simple ceramic, her pot could be a masterpiece of craftsmanship. It might be carved from a single piece of turquoise, or made of brilliant blue faience, with hieroglyphic inscriptions wishing her health and beauty. The most opulent kohl tubes were made of multiple materials, a body of ivory, a base of gold, and a stopper of polished semi-precious stone. One of the most famous surviving examples is a kohl pot from the tomb of Tutankhamun, a stunning piece of golden calcite that is a work of art in its own right. The makeup itself would be of a far superior quality. The malachite and galena would be the purest available, ground into an impossibly fine powder, free of any grit. The binder would be made from the most expensive oils, perhaps even imported moringa oil from Nubia, scented with rare and costly resins like frankincense from the distant land of Punt. The resulting paste would be smoother, blacker, and more vibrant than anything a common person could afford. The application, too, would be a sign of status. While you apply your own kohl with a practiced hand, a noblewoman would have a dedicated servant, a skilled makeup artist, to perform the task for her. This servant would be an expert, capable of creating a perfectly symmetrical, flawless line every single time. Having someone else do your makeup is a clear and unambiguous sign that your own time is too valuable to be spent on such tasks. This conspicuous consumption extends to all aspects of personal grooming. A wealthy person would own an elaborate collection of razors with decorative handles for hair removal, bronze tweezers for plucking stray hairs, and polished bronze mirrors large enough to see their whole face clearly. Your mirror, a small, handheld disc, is functional, but theirs is a statement piece. A curious little detail that archaeologists have noted is the discovery of dummy cosmetic vessels in some tombs. These are solid vessels, carved to look like they contain something, but with no actual hollow space for makeup. The theory is that these might have been cheaper, funerary versions for those who could not afford a full, real set for the afterlife but still wanted to project an image of status and preparedness to the gods. It is the ancient equivalent of carrying a designer shopping bag with nothing in it. So while the fundamental look, the lined, almond-shaped eye, is the same across the social spectrum. The subtle details speak volumes. It is a system of social signaling that is instantly readable to any Egyptian. By glancing at the quality of your kohl line, the vibrancy of your eyeshadow, and the elegance of the pot you carry it in, a stranger could immediately make a very accurate assessment of your wealth, your connections, and your place in the great ordered pyramid of society. Your face is not just a canvas for beauty. It is a billboard for your social resume. Your eyes are now perfectly adorned, divine portals protected by the power of Horus. But the Egyptian sense of style and color did not stop at the eyes. For the complete, classic look, especially if you are a woman preparing for a festival or a social gathering, there are a few more touches to add. It is time to bring a bit of color to your lips and cheeks. You turn to another essential item in your cosmetic kit, a small pot containing a different kind of pigment. This is not the dramatic black of galena or the vibrant green of malachite. This is a pot of finely ground red ochre. Red ochre is an iron oxide mineral, a type of colored earth that is abundant and readily available in the deserts flanking the Nile Valley. It comes in a range of shades, from a bright, fiery red to a deep, brownish rust. It is one of the oldest pigments used by humankind, found in prehistoric cave paintings across the globe. For you, it is the color of life, of blood, of energy, and of the fierce desert sun. It is also associated with the god Set, the god of chaos in the desert, so its use requires a certain care. It is a powerful, dynamic color. You take a small amount of the red ochre powder. Like your kohl, it needs to be mixed with a binder to create a usable paste. Again, a simple fat or oil would do the trick. You mix a small amount on your palette or in the palm of your hand, creating a smooth, reddish paste. Now, with your fingertip or a small, flat brush made from a reed, you apply this paste to your lips. You are not aiming for the sharp, defined lip line of a modern lipstick. The application is more of a stain, a soft wash of color that gives your lips a healthy, reddish hue. The ideal is not a dramatic, painted look, but an enhancement of your natural lip color, making them look full and vibrant. This practice is almost exclusively for women. While men embraced kohl eyeliner with gusto, lip color was seen as a firmly feminine adornment. The art from your time reflects this. Men are almost always depicted with natural colored lips, while women, especially high-status women, are often shown with a noticeable reddish tint. After your lips, you might use the same red ochre paste for your cheeks. This is the ancient Egyptian version of blush or rouge. You would apply a small amount to the apples of your cheeks, blending it softly to create a healthy, rosy glow. This suggests youth and vitality, as if you have just been rushing about your daily tasks with energy and vigor. The effect is subtle, a hint of color to liven up the face. The use of red ochre on the skin was not limited to the face. Dancers, both male and female, would often use it to paint temporary, decorative patterns on their bodies, and women would sometimes use it as a form of nail polish, staining their fingernails and toenails a reddish-brown color. A complete manicure and pedicure, Egyptian style. One of the fascinating and still debated questions for Egyptologists is the exact nature of these lip and cheek stains. While red ochre is the most commonly found and logical ingredient, some evidence suggests a more complex cosmetic chemistry. Analysis of some mummies has revealed traces of resin-based colorants on the lips, hinting at a more lipstick-like, waxy preparation. The Romans, who were fascinated by Egyptian cosmetics, wrote of Cleopatra using a mixture containing crushed beetles and ants to achieve her famous carmine red lips. While this was much later in Egyptian history, it points to a long tradition of innovation in the pursuit of the perfect red. So now, the look is complete. The dramatic, protective power of the dark eyes is softened and warmed by the vital, earthy red on your lips and cheeks. It is a balanced look, a harmony of different colors and symbols. The cool, magical tones of the eye makeup are grounded by the warm, human tones of the red ochre. You look in your polished bronze mirror. The face that stares back is not just protected. It is alive, vibrant, and ready to engage with the social world. You are a picture of health, beauty, and divine order. Your makeup is flawless, your jewelry is in place, and you are ready for the evening's festivities. You are attending a banquet at the home of a wealthy official, a celebration of a recent harvest or a religious festival. These feasts were a cornerstone of Egyptian social life, an opportunity to display wealth, forge connections, and enjoy the fruits of the land. And they came with their own unique and rather fragrant cosmetic customs. You arrive at the official's villa. The air is filled with the sounds of music, a harp, a lute, and a flute, and the scent of roasting meat and freshly baked bread. Servants, young men and women, move through the assembled guests, offering cups of wine and beer. As a sign of honor, one of them approaches you with a small bowl. It contains a fragrant oil, perhaps infused with lily, myrrh, or cinnamon. You are invited to anoint your arms and neck, a gesture of welcome and purification. Then comes the most peculiar and wonderful feature of the evening. Another servant approaches you, holding a tray. On the tray are small, cone-shaped objects, white and waxy looking. These are perfume cones, or scent cones. You are expected to take one and place it directly on top of your head, right on your hair or, more likely, on top of the elaborate wig you are wearing for the occasion. You look around the room. All the other guests, men and women alike, are sporting these cones on their heads. It is the height of party fashion. These cones are made from a base of tallow, rendered animal fat, or beeswax, which has been impregnated with a huge amount of expensive perfume. The most common fragrance was myrrh, a rich, warm, and earthy scent derived from the resin of a tree found far to the south. Other popular scents included frankincense, cardamom, and various floral extracts. The principle is simple and rather ingenious. As the evening progresses, the heat from your body and the warmth of the crowded room will slowly melt the cone. The perfumed fat will liquefy and trickle down over your wig and shoulders, releasing a continuous, powerful wave of fragrance. You are, in effect, a walking, human-shaped air freshener. This served several purposes. On a basic level, it was a powerful deodorant, keeping you smelling sweet and pleasant throughout a long, hot, and crowded party. In a world before daily bathing was the norm for everyone, this was a very practical consideration, but it was also a stunning display of conspicuous consumption. The perfumes used in these cones were incredibly expensive, imported from distant lands at great cost. To wear a large, richly scented cone on your head was a clear and unambiguous signal of your wealth and status. It showed that you could literally afford to have expensive perfumes melting down your back. There is also, of course, a symbolic and religious dimension. The scents of myrrh and frankincense were sacred, used as offerings to the gods in temple rituals. By enveloping yourself in these same fragrances, you are making yourself more godlike, more pleasing to the divine powers. The act of anointing and perfuming is a way of purifying yourself and elevating your spiritual state. For a long time, these perfume cones were a source of great debate among Egyptologists. They saw them depicted constantly in tomb paintings of banquet scenes. But for many years, no physical evidence of one had ever been found. This leads some scholars to argue that the cones were not real objects, but purely symbolic representations of a person's scent or festive spirit, a sort of hieroglyph for "I smell nice." This debate was finally settled only very recently. In excavations at Amarna, the city of the pharaoh Akhenaten, archaeologists discovered two actual, physical perfume cones in burials. They were found placed on the heads of the skeletons, exactly as depicted in the paintings. Analysis showed they were indeed made of a waxy, fatty substance, though the original scent had long since faded. It was a remarkable discovery that proved this strange and wonderful custom was very real. So, use it with your fellow guests, the cone on your head slowly melting, a pleasant stream of myrrh-scented oil trickling down your wig. The music plays, the wine flows, and you are enveloped in a fragrant cloud of luxury and piety. It is a multi-sensory experience, a party for all the senses, and your personal perfume cone is your ticket to the very height of ancient Egyptian glamour. The party winds down, The music fades, and you return home, your head still swimming with the sounds, tastes, and smells of the banquet. Your daily life is full of these rituals of beauty and social engagement. But in your culture, looking good is not just for this life. It is an eternal commitment. Your preparations for the afterlife are perhaps the most important cosmetic project you will ever undertake. You believe that death is not an end, but a transition. After you die, your soul, your and kohl, will embark on a perilous journey through the underworld, facing a series of trials and judgments before, hopefully, reaching the blissful paradise of the field of reeds. To navigate this journey successfully, you need to be properly equipped. This means having your body preserved through mummification, being buried with the right magical spells, the book of the dead, and having all the necessary supplies for the next life. And for an Egyptian, necessary supplies absolutely includes a complete makeup kit. In a corner of your home, you might have a special chest where you are slowly accumulating the items for your tomb. It is not a morbid preoccupation. It is a practical and pious act of planning. You are building your eternal home, and you want it to be comfortable and well appointed. Inside this chest, you would place a brand new, unused cosmetic set. This is not your everyday kit. This one is for eternity. You would select a beautiful silk tone or alabaster palette, perhaps one specially carved with protective symbols. You would include a fresh grinding stone, several fine applicators made of ivory or ebony, and a collection of beautiful kohl pots. These pots would be filled with the finest quality cosmetics you can afford. You would pack a generous supply of powdered malachite and galena, ensuring you would never run out. The binders, the precious oils and fats, would be sealed in airtight jars. You are essentially packing a makeup bag for a journey that will last forever. Why is this so important? You believe that in the afterlife, you will be reborn into a perfected, idealized version of yourself. Your body will be made whole and eternal, and you will need to maintain your appearance before the gods. When you are brought before Osiris for the final judgment, the weighing of the heart, you want to look your best. A well-groomed, beautifully made-up appearance is a sign of your piety, your adherence to Mut, the principle of cosmic order and truth, and your worthiness to enter paradise. To appear disheveled or unkempt would be a sign of chaos and disrespect. This is why the tombs of the wealthy are filled with such an astonishing array of cosmetic objects. In the tomb of Tutankhamun, archaeologists found a treasure trove of grooming equipment, including razors, mirrors, and dozens of containers for oils, perfumes, and kohl. A particularly lavish item was a cosmetic box made of gilded wood and inlaid with ivory and ebony, containing pots of calcite for scented unguents. A fascinating little detail that reveals the depth of this belief is that the mummification process itself often included a final cosmetic application. After the body was wrapped in its linen bandages, the embalmers would often paint a face onto the outer wrappings, complete with the iconic, heavily lined eyes. They were ensuring that even your mummified form, your eternal body, bore the protective gaze of Horus. Sometimes, they would even place intricately decorated cartonnage masks over the head, which always featured these same idealized, made-up eyes. The academic debate here revolves around the auras of these items. Were the cosmetic items in a tomb simply for the deceased's personal use in the afterlife, or did the objects themselves, by being placed in the sacred space of the tomb, take on a magical, amulet-icy power of their own? The answer, as is so often the case in Egyptian belief, is likely both. The kohl pot is both a functional container and a magical object that guarantees eternal beauty. So as you carefully wrap a new alabaster kohl pot in linen and place it in your funerary chest, you feel a sense of peace and security. You are preparing for the ultimate journey, ensuring that you will face the gods and the challenges of eternity with the same grace, style, and divine protection that you rely on every single day of your life on earth. Your personal devotion to the daily cosmetic ritual is a reflection of a much grander, cosmic truth in your world. The gods themselves wear makeup. This is not just a casual belief. It is a fundamental aspect of your state religion. a practice that happens every single day in every temple up and down the Nile. Let's imagine you are standing outside the massive stone walls of a great temple, perhaps the Temple of Amun-Ra at Karnak. You, as a common person, are not allowed inside the most sacred parts of the temple. Only the pharaoh and the highest-ranking priests can enter the inner sanctum where the god statue resides. But you know what is happening within. Every morning, at dawn, a solemn ritual known as the daily temple rite takes place. A group of purified priests, robed in clean linen, unseal the doors of the shrine. They enter the dark, incense-filled chamber where the cult statue of the god is housed. This statue is not just a representation of the god. It is believed to be a physical vessel that the god's spirit, the kohl, can inhabit. The priests begin the process of waking, cleaning, and feeding the god. They offer prayers and hymns. They feed the god by presenting a lavish meal, the essence of which the god is believed to consume. They then carefully wash the statue with holy water from the temple's sacred lake. And then, they perform a cosmetic ritual, using the finest quality ingredients from the temple's own workshops. A priest will carefully apply fresh green eyeshadow and black kohl to the statue's eyes. They are often inlaid with precious materials like rock, crystal, and obsidian. But the application of the paint is still a crucial step. This act is what truly opens the god's eyes, allowing the deity to see the world and receive the prayers of the faithful. Without the makeup, the god remains in a dormant state. This is a powerful and profound concept. The makeup is not merely decorative. It is what animates the divine. It is the switch that turns on the god's power for the day. You see this reflected everywhere in the temple art. The massive statues of pharaohs and gods that line the courtyards all have their eyes detailed and often painted. The vibrant reliefs carved into the walls show the gods and goddesses, Hathor, Isis, Osiris, Horus, all with the same iconic, almond-shaped, kohl-lined eyes that you have drawn on your own face. You are quite literally fashioning yourself in the image of your deities. A curious detail that emphasizes this connection is the discovery of cosmetic grinders and palettes in temple foundation deposits. When a new temple was being built, the Egyptians would bury caches of symbolic objects in the foundations to consecrate the ground. These often included model bricks, tools, and, yes, cosmetic equipment. They were provisioning the temple, from its very birth, with the necessary tools to maintain the beauty and power of the god who would one day live there. The debate among Egyptologists on this topic is subtle but important. Is the temple ritual a direct model for the common person's daily routine? Or is the common person's routine a smaller, imitative version of the grand temple ceremony? It is a question of influence. Did the practice start with the gods and trickle down to the people? Or did it start as a popular folk custom that was later formalized and adopted by the state religion? The evidence suggests a deep, symbiotic relationship. The folk tradition of using kohl for practical and magical protection likely predates the formal temple rites, but the temple rites then elevated the practice, giving it a profound theological significance that reinforced and amplified the popular belief. This divine connection gives your personal beauty routine an incredible sense of purpose. When you are standing before your mirror in the morning, carefully drawing that black line, you are not alone. You are participating in a sacred act that is being mirrored at that very moment by a priest in the Holy of Holies of the greatest temple in the land. Your small, personal ritual is a part of a grand, cosmic ceremony, a daily reaffirmation of the bond between humanity and the gods. You and the great god Amun-Ra get ready for your day together. You are a person of some means, but you apply your own makeup with a skill born of daily practice. The queen in her palace, however, has a dedicated servant for this task. The high priest in the temple has a junior priest. This points to a hidden figure in the world of Egyptian cosmetics, the professional makeup artist. These were the forgotten masters of the craft, the quiet experts whose hands created the iconic looks of the elite. Who were these people? They do not have grand titles, and their names are rarely recorded in the official histories, which tend to focus on pharaohs, generals, and viziers. But we can piece together a picture of their lives from the clues they left behind. They were likely a class of specialized servants or artisans. In a royal or noble household, they would hold a position of immense trust. To be allowed so close to the face of a queen or a high-ranking official, to touch them with applicators and pastes, required a deep bond of loyalty and a reputation for cleanliness and discretion. This was not a job for just anyone. These artists would have been masters of their materials. They would know the subtle differences between galena from a swan and galena from the eastern desert. They would have their own secret, jealously guarded recipes for binders, perhaps using rare imported oils or special herbs to achieve a smoother application or a longer-lasting effect. They would be the ones to experiment with new styles, a slightly different angle for the eyeliner's tail, a new way of blending eyeshadow, setting the trends that would trickle down through the rest of society. We can imagine them in the palace workshops, working alongside the wig makers, the jewelers, and the perfumers, all part of a team dedicated to maintaining the perfect, divine image of the royal family. Their cosmetic kits would have been magnificent, filled with tools of ivory, gold, and silver, and pots of the most precious and exotic materials. Beyond the private households of the elite, there may have been something akin to professional makeup artists available for hire in the bustling cities, perhaps for a wedding or a major festival. A moderately wealthy family could hire a cosmetic specialist to ensure the whole family looked their absolute best. These artists might have set up shop in the marketplace, offering their services alongside the barbers and the scribes. This is speculative, but it is a plausible scenario in a society so dedicated to personal appearance. One fascinating piece of evidence comes from a tomb painting depicting the funeral of a wealthy official. In the procession of mourners, we see servants carrying the various goods for the tomb. One of them is shown holding a cosmetic box. This servant is labeled with the title IRMESD-MET, which literally translates to coal maker or kohl lapper. This gives us a specific job title, a ghost of a profession. The academic debate here centers on the level of their specialization. Were these kohl makers simply servants who performed a task, or were they considered true artists and experts in their own right? The level of skill and material knowledge required suggests the latter. They were likely highly respected craftspeople, whose expertise was valued and sought after. The line between a servant and a skilled artisan was often blurry in the ancient world, and they likely occupied a space somewhere in between. A quirky detail that suggests their importance is the makeup of the dead. During the mummification process, the embalmers, who were a specialized class of priests, performed the final cosmetic application. In this context, the embalmer is acting as the ultimate makeup artist, preparing the client for their most important appearance of all, their debut in the afterlife. The skills of the cosmetic artist and the priest merge into one. So, as you perfect the line on your own eye, you can think of these invisible masters. You can admire their skill, preserved on the faces of the statues and the coffins that will survive for millennia. They were the quiet hands behind the iconic gaze of ancient Egypt. The forgotten geniuses who turned a daily routine into a high art form. Their legacy is written in kohl on the faces of kings and queens, a silent testament to their artistry and their essential role in the world of ancient beauty. You are confident in your daily ritual. Your kohl is your shield, your medicine, your connection to the gods. You have no reason to doubt the wisdom of your ancestors. The use of galena, the lead-based mineral, has been a cornerstone of your culture for centuries. It is tried, tested, and true. Any minor ailments you might experience, a headache, a feeling of lethargy, you would attribute to any number of other causes. A curse from a disgruntled neighbor, the displeasure of a minor god, or simply the oppressive summer heat. You would never suspect your cherished makeup, but for future generations, this is the most troubling aspect of your entire beauty routine. The widespread, daily, lifelong use of a lead-based cosmetic is, from a modern medical perspective, a public health enigma. This leads to one of the most serious and ongoing academic debates surrounding ancient Egyptian cosmetics. How dangerous was it, really? And what were the long-term consequences? On one side of the debate are the toxicologists and medical historians. They point to the well-documented and devastating effects of chronic lead poisoning. Lead exposure can affect nearly every organ in the body. It damages the nervous system, leading to cognitive impairment and behavioral changes. It can cause anemia, kidney damage, and severe abdominal pain. In high doses, it is fatal. From this perspective, the ancient Egyptians were engaged in a slow, society-wide poisoning. These scholars argue that while the Egyptians might not have understood the specific mechanism of lead toxicity, they may have been aware of some of its dangers. They point to Roman sources that describe the sickness and death of workers in lead mines and smelting operations. Perhaps, they suggest, the elite of Egyptian society knew the risks and used lead-based coal more sparingly, or used non-lead alternatives, while the general populace bore the brunt of the toxic effects. On the other side of the debate are the chemists and archaeologists who have studied the coal directly. They argue that the situation is far more complex. As the French study on nitric oxide showed, the lead may have had tangible immunological benefits that, in the short term, outweighed the long-term risks in a pre-antibiotic world. They also point to the specific chemical form of the lead. The galena was ground and mixed into a fatty paste. This paste was applied topically and was not meant to be ingested. While some lead would inevitably be absorbed through the skin and the mucous membranes of the eye, the amount of daily absorption might have been relatively low. The body is also capable of sequestering some lead in the bones, effectively taking it out of circulation. A fascinating piece of evidence comes from the analysis of hair samples from Egyptian mummies. Hair can act as a record of a person's exposure to heavy metals over time. Some studies of these hair samples have indeed shown elevated lead levels, confirming that the Egyptians were, in fact, absorbing lead from their environment. However, the levels are not always as catastrophically high as one might expect from daily cosmetic use, suggesting a complex picture of exposure, absorption, and excretion. The debate is far from settled. It is a classic case of risk versus reward. Was the kohl a pretty poison, a harmful practice embraced for the sake of beauty and tradition? Or was it a calculated risk, a form of quaint cure whose immediate benefits in a hostile microbial environment were deemed worth the slow, creeping danger? A curious detail that adds another layer to the puzzle is that the Egyptians did have an alternative. They knew how to make black pigment from carbon soot, lamp black, which is non-toxic. The fact that they so often chose to use the more dangerous, lead-based galena strongly suggests that they believed it possessed a special quality that soot lacked, either a superior sparkle in texture, or, more likely, the magical and medicinal properties that the French study hints at. You, living your life by the Nile, are blissfully unaware of this debate that will rage in the distant future. You trust in your traditions. You feel protected. The long-term, invisible threat of a heavy metal accumulating in your bones is a concept utterly alien to you. Your concerns are more immediate: the glare of the sun, the sickness from the flies, and the favor of the gods. And by those metrics, your kohl is a resounding success. Your civilization, which feels so eternal and unchanging, will one day fade. The pharaohs will fall, the temples will crumble, and the old gods will be forgotten. They knew power. Rome will rise and cast its shadow over your land. And in this final, glittering chapter of ancient Egyptian history, your iconic look will find its most famous and influential champion, Cleopatra. Cleopatra I was the last pharaoh of Egypt. She was not ethnically Egyptian. She was a descendant of the Greek general Ptolemy, one of Alexander the Great's commanders who took control of Egypt centuries earlier. But she was a savvy and brilliant ruler, and she understood the power of symbolism. Unlike her predecessors, she learned to speak the Egyptian language and embraced the ancient religious traditions of the country she ruled. And she adopted, with spectacular flair, the classic Egyptian cosmetic style. When Roman leaders like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony arrived in Alexandria, they were met by a queen who presented herself as the living embodiment of the goddess Isis. Her image was a carefully crafted masterpiece of power and allure, and at the center of that image were her famous kohl-lined eyes. The Romans were both captivated and scandalized. Roman women at the time had a very different aesthetic. Their ideal was one of pale, natural beauty. They used subtle powders to lighten their skin and a bit of rouge on their cheeks. But the heavy, dramatic eye makeup of the Egyptians was seen as exotic, decadent, and slightly dangerous. It was the look of a foreign enchantress. Cleopatra's look became legendary. Roman poets and historians wrote about her with a mixture of awe and suspicion. They described her as a sorceress, a siren who used her beauty and her strange foreign customs to bewitch powerful men and threaten the stability of Rome itself. Her kohl-lined eyes became a shorthand for her seductive, mysterious, and formidable power. Through these Roman accounts, the image of the Egyptian queen with her iconic eyeliner was cemented in the Western imagination. It became a timeless symbol of exotic beauty and female power. A fascinating detail from this period is how Egyptian cosmetic ingredients began to be exported and adopted by some fashionable Roman women. The Roman writer Ovid, in his work, The Art of Beauty, gives recipes for face masks and treatments that include ingredients clearly borrowed from Egypt. Pliny the Elder wrote about the different types of kohl and their supposed medicinal properties, echoing beliefs that had been held in your country for millennia. The Egyptian look was starting to go international. However, the full-on, heavy kohl liner remained strongly associated with Egypt and, in the Roman mind, with Cleopatra's brand of dangerous glamour. The debate among historians is how much of Cleopatra's own look was her personal style versus a calculated political statement. By adopting the full pharaonic regalia, including the dramatic makeup, she was visually aligning herself with the long line of powerful Egyptian rulers before her. She was showing her Roman visitors that she was not just some puppet queen, but the heir to a civilization thousands of years old. Her eyeliner was a political weapon. After Cleopatra's death and the formal Roman annexation of Egypt, the ancient traditions began a long, slow decline. The rise of Christianity brought with it a new aesthetic, one that often valued modesty and piety over worldly adornment. The use of heavy kohl, so closely associated with the old pagan gods and their last great queen, gradually faded from common use in Egypt. But the ghost of the look never truly disappeared. It was preserved in the art on the tomb walls, sleeping under the sands, waiting to be rediscovered, and it was immortalized in the Roman stories of Cleopatra. Her lasting influence ensured that when the world thought of ancient Egypt, the first image that would come to mind would be a pair of intelligent, powerful, and beautifully kohl-lined eyes. The torch of your cosmetic tradition was carried into the future by its last and most famous practitioner. The world you knew, with its vibrant rituals and deep-seated beliefs, eventually succumbs to the sands of time. The temples fall silent, the hieroglyphs become an unreadable mystery, and the knowledge of your intricate cosmetic arts is lost. For over 1,000 years, your civilization is a sleeping giant, its secrets buried under layers of deserts and uncultural forgetting. Then, in the 19th century, a new kind of explorer arrives in the Nile Valley. They are not conquerors or traders, but scholars, adventurers, and archaeologists from Europe. They are armed with shovels, notebooks, and an insatiable curiosity about your lost world. This is the great age of Egyptology, and they are about to wake the giant. These Victorian-era Egyptologists, men like Flinders Petrie and Howard Carter, begin to systematically excavate the ancient sites. They uncover vast temple complexes, sprawling cities of the dead, and tombs filled with treasures that have not seen the light of day for 3,000 years. And everywhere they look, they are confronted by your gaze. They see it on the monumental statues, their painted eyes still staring out with a serene, otherworldly intensity. They see it on the vibrant frescoes in the tombs, depicting scenes of daily life, banquets, and religious ceremonies where every single person, from the pharaoh to the servant, has the same dramatic, kohl-lined eyes. They see it on the golden masks of the pharaohs, like the one that will be found in Tutankhamun's tomb. An image so powerful, it will captivate the entire world, and they find the tools of your art. They unearth thousands of cosmetic artifacts, silk-toned polettes stained with ancient pigment, delicate ivory applicators, and countless kohl pots in all shapes and sizes. At first, they are not always sure what they are looking at. Some of the earliest archaeologists misidentified the polettes as votive objects or ceremonial whetstones. It took time for them to piece together the full story and realize they were looking at the remnants of a sophisticated, universal cosmetic industry. The discovery of this ancient makeup culture creates a sensation back in Europe. The public is fascinated by this vision of a civilization that seemed so preoccupied with beauty and adornment. It feeds into a growing Egyptomania, a craze for all things Egyptian that influences fashion, architecture, and design. A curious detail from this period is the gendered reaction to the discoveries. The Victorian public, with their own strict, rigid gender roles, were particularly struck by the fact that Egyptian men wore makeup. This was often framed as a sign of the Egyptians' effeminate or decadent nature, a view that reveals far more about Victorian prejudices than it does about ancient Egyptian culture. The idea that a powerful warrior or a mighty pharaoh would wear eyeliner was a concept that their worldview struggled to accommodate. The academic debate at the time focused heavily on the purpose of the makeup. Was it purely for beautification, or was there a religious significance? The early Egyptologists, many of whom came from a religious background themselves, were quick to see the symbolic and magical connections, especially to the Eye of Horus. The idea that the makeup was also practical, a form of medicine and sun protection, was a theory that would gain more traction later. A scientific analysis became more central to archaeology, so your daily ritual, once a private, meditative act, is now the subject of intense public fascination and scholarly debate. The contents of your makeup bag, once personal and ephemeral, are now museum artifacts, carefully catalogued and displayed in glass cases. The tradition that was lost to the sands of time has been rediscovered, pieced together from the fragments you left behind. The world is once again looking into the eyes of ancient Egypt, and it is mesmerized by what it sees. Your specific tradition, with its unique rituals and symbolic meanings tied to Horus and Osiris, may have faded in Egypt itself, but the essence of your most iconic cosmetic, the dark, dramatic eyeliner, never truly disappeared from the world. Like the Nile, which flows from the heart of Africa to the Mediterranean, the practice of lining the eyes flowed out from your world and found new life in other cultures, a testament to its enduring power and appeal. The most direct and unbroken lineage can be found in North Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. In these regions, a cosmetic nearly identical to your kohl has been used continuously for thousands of years. It goes by different names: surma or surma in the Indian subcontinent, kohl in many parts of South and West Asia, and it is still called kohl in the Arab world. The materials and methods are strikingly similar. Traditional kohl is often made by collecting the soot from a burning oil lamp, a technique you are also familiar with. This soot is then mixed with a clarified butter called ghee or other oils to create a smooth, black paste, just like in your time. It is stored in a special container and applied with a stick. The reasons for its use also echo your own traditions with an uncanny resonance. In many of these cultures, lining the eyes with kohl or surma is not just for beauty. It is believed to have powerful protective qualities. It is said to cool the eyes and to protect them from the sun's glare. It is considered a way to ward off the evil eye, a belief that stretches across the Mediterranean and beyond. And most importantly, it is applied to newborn babies to protect them from harm and to ensure they have beautiful, healthy eyes. A mother in modern-day India, gently applying kohl to her baby's eyes, is unknowingly repeating a ritual of love and protection that a mother in your time performed for Zorro years ago. The medicinal aspect also survived. In traditional systems of medicine like Ayurveda, surma is often prescribed for various eye ailments. The belief that the dark liner can clean the eyes and prevent infections is a piece of folk wisdom that has endured for millennia, a living echo of the science behind your lead-based kohl's ability to stimulate the immune system. A curious detail is how the style of application has traveled and transformed. While the classic, heavy, encircling line is still common in many traditional contexts. The influence of global fashion has led to new interpretations. The cat-eye look, her ancient invention, became a staple of 20th century Western fashion and has since been re-exported around the globe, creating a fascinating feedback loop of style. A young woman in Cairo today might create a winged liner look inspired by a Western fashion magazine, which was itself inspired by the look of her own distant ancestors. The academic debate here focuses on the path of transmission. How exactly did this cosmetic tradition spread so widely? Was it carried along ancient trade routes like the Silk Road and the incense trails? Was it spread through military conquests and cultural exchange, like the expansion of the Persian and later the Islamic empires? Or was it a case of convergent evolution, where different cultures living in similar sunny, dusty climates independently developed the same solution? The truth is likely a combination of all three, but the deep similarities in technique and belief strongly suggest a shared, ancient root. So while your civilization may have fallen, your most famous invention is immortal. It has become a part of the global cosmetic vocabulary. Every time someone in the modern world carefully draws a dark line at their eyes to feel more beautiful, more powerful, or more protected, they are unknowingly channeling your spirit. They are tapping into a stream of tradition that flows directly from the banks of the Nile. A 4,000-year-old story of beauty, magic, and identity. Let's leave the stream of history and the grand sweep of civilizations. Let's return to a single, quiet object. You are no longer in ancient Egypt. You are in a modern museum, perhaps in London, Paris, or Berlin. You are standing in a brightly lit, climate-controlled gallery, surrounded by the silent, displaced treasures of your homeland. You walk past colossal statues and rows of painted coffins, and you stop in front of a small, unassuming glass case. Inside, laid out on a piece of neutral gray cloth, is a collection of personal items from a non-royal tomb. There is a bronze mirror, its surface now a dull, cloudy green. There is a string of faience beads, and next to them lies a single, delicate object, a cosmetic spoon. It is tiny, no longer than your finger. It is carved from a single piece of ivory, which has yellowed with age to the color of old parchment. The bowl of this spoon is a shallow, perfect oval, no bigger than your thumbnail. The handle, however, is a masterpiece of miniature sculpture. It is carved in the shape of a young woman, a servant girl, who is swimming. Her body is elongated and graceful. Her arms are stretched out in front of her, and her hands from the bowl of the spoon itself. Her head is turned slightly to the side, and her hair is carved in the intricate, plaited style of your time. She is naked, her form rendered with a naturalism and elegance that is breathtaking. She seems to be moving, gliding through some invisible, eternal Nile. In her outstretched hands, she carries a precious offering, a scoop of perfume, a dollop of unguent, a touch of kohl. You look at this tiny, intimate object, and the vast, impersonal scale of the museum melts away. This was not made for a temple or a pharaoh. This was a personal possession. It was held in a woman's hand, just like yours, thousands of years ago. She would have used it in a quiet moment in the morning, just as you do, as part of her daily ritual of beautification. It was a part of her life. This particular design, the swimming girl spoon, was a popular and recurring motif in New Kingdom art. There are dozens of surviving examples, carved from wood, ivory, or bone. They are a testament to the skill and artistry of the Egyptian craftsman, who could bring such life and grace to such a small, functional object. But it is more than just a beautiful spoon. It is a symbol. The swimming girl is often interpreted as a representation of youth, vitality, and sensuality. The act of swimming in the Nile was itself associated with rebirth and purification. By using this spoon, the owner was not just scooping up cosmetics. She was partaking in a symbolic act of renewal, infusing her beauty with the promise of eternal youth. The academic debate around these spoons is gentle and appreciative. Scholars discuss the subtle variations in style, the possible mythological connections. Is the girl a servant, a goddess, or the owner herself, and the incredible skill of the anonymous artists who carved them. But everyone agrees that these spoons are among the most charming and personal artifacts to have survived from your world. They are a direct, tangible link to the private lives of individuals. As you stand there, looking at this 4,000-year-old spoon, you feel a profound connection, a collapse of time. You can almost feel its smooth, cool weight in your own hand. You can picture the woman who owned it. You can see her smile as she admired the little swimming girl. The object is a bridge. It connects her world to yours. It reminds you that behind the grand narratives of history, behind the rise and fall of empires and the lives of great pharaohs, there were ordinary people living ordinary lives. People who valued beauty, who cherished their possessions, and who found meaning and magic in the simple, quiet rituals of the morning. This tiny spoon contains more history, more humanity, than any colossal statue. We have traveled from the mines of Sinai to the shelves of a modern museum. We have explored the science, the magic, the fashion, and the faith behind your ancient makeup routine. We end where we began, with you, in the quiet of the morning, preparing to face your day. As you put the final touches on your makeup, what is the ultimate meaning of this daily act? It is, at its heart, the ritual of hope. Every single aspect of your cosmetic routine is forward-looking, an expression of faith in a positive outcome. You apply the green malachite, the color of new growth, in the hope of securing your own vitality and renewal, a prayer for your continued life and health. You are not just remembering the resurrection of Osiris, you are actively participating in it, hoping for your own small-scale rebirth each morning. You draw the black kohl around your eyes, a shield against the harshness of the world. This is an act of hope that you will be safe from the sun, the dust, the flies, and the diseases they carry. It is a proactive, preventative measure, a refusal to be a passive victim of your environment. You are hoping to preserve your sight, one of your most precious faculties, so you can continue to see the beauty of the world in the faces of your loved ones. You invoke the power of the Eye of Horus, the ultimate symbol of healing and protection. This is an expression of hope that you will be shielded from the unseen dangers of the world, the evil eye, the malevolent spirits, the chaotic forces that threaten the order of your life. You are placing your faith in the gods, hoping that they will watch over you and keep you whole. Even the social aspect is a form of hope, by adhering to the shared aesthetic of your culture, by making yourself beautiful according to the standards of your time. You are affirming your place within the community. It is an act of hope that you will be accepted, respected, and loved. It is a ritual that reinforces your bonds with your family, your neighbors, and your society. And finally, the preparation of your cosmetic kit for the afterlife is the most profound act of hope of all. It is a declaration of your unwavering belief in eternity. It is the hope that death is not the end, that your journey will continue, and that you will be reborn into a perfect, blissful existence in the field of reeds. You are packing your makeup bag for a trip you have absolute faith you will take. This multi-layered ritual stands in stark contrast to how many future cultures will view cosmetics as a sign of vanity, a frivolous indulgence, or a too-loved deception. For you, it is none of those things. It is a serious, meaningful, and deeply integrated part of your life. It is your science, your medicine, your religion, and your art, all mixed together in a single pot of kohl. The academic debate that encompasses all of these themes is about a single word: magic. What did magic, in your language, mean to the Egyptians? Was it superstition, a primitive attempt to control a world they did not understand? Or was it something more? The consensus among modern Egyptologists is that Hikal was seen as a fundamental force of the universe, the power that the gods used to create and sustain the world. By performing rituals like your cosmetic application, you are not just asking for divine favor. You are actively participating in that cosmic act of creation. You are using your own small-scale Hikal to create order, health, and beauty in your own corner of the universe. So, as you step out your door, your eyes perfectly lined, You are a walking embodiment of this principle. You are a small beacon of order in a world that always threatens to descend into chaos. Your simple, daily makeup routine is a profound act of defiance and faith. It is the quiet, methodical, and beautiful magic of hope. The sun begins its slow descent, painting the western sky in shades of ochre and reed. The heat of the day subsides, replaced by a gentle, cooling breeze that rustles the papyrus reeds along the riverbank. The story of the kohl and the malachite is over. You can feel the day's makeup, heavy with the dust and cares of the world, begin to dissolve. You wipe your eyes clean with a soft linen cloth and a little oil, the black and green pigments melting away, leaving you barefaced and ready for the peace of the night. The world outside your window softens into a deep indigo. The moon, the lift eye of Horus, begins its journey across the sky, its pale light a comforting balm. You are no longer in ancient Egypt. You are drifting in that quiet, timeless space between wakefulness and sleep. The sharp lines of the story blur and fade, leaving behind only a feeling, a gentle sensation of being cared for and protected. The air is calm, the river is quiet. You can feel the slow, steady rhythm of your own breathing. A peaceful, internal clockwork. There are no more rituals to perform, no more protections to invoke. You are safe now, in the stillness of the night, letting the current of sleep carry you gently downstream, into the deep, dark, and fertile land of dreams.